this is a very special day for not only Parya but also for the Iranian community, because this is the first day of Nowruz, and we have to say Happy Nowruz, Nowruz Mubarak. It is very interesting day for our community that such an important event is happening on the day of the Nowruz. Really. Premier, this is the first Iranian community center in the world. And we are happy that we have it in Canada, in Toronto, and it is great honor to have you here for the extension of our building, which is support of the federal and province. Maybe because of some changes to the schedule, we have to do the groundbreaking, if you don't mind, on the stage, and then we will request you to give us a speech about our community and what we can do as a good citizen of this great province. If I may ask you and Mr. Frank Scarpetti joining us here, and also our head of the construction, Mr. Farzad Mohammadi, who has been helpful on this issue, and Mr. Babak Sarshar and Mr. Michael Paulson. Sir, these are the fake golden ones because we don't have money to make a gold one. These are spray done by my friend Mr. Muhtash and his company was kindly to do this. I said, ordering the gold one, I said we cannot do fake because we are not the developer. Thank you, Mr. Premier, and thank you, my friend, Mr. Scarpetti. Very short information for just Mr. Premier to get a little bit about Parya. We are this year 20 years old, federally charity registered in Canada, and we have about 4 years in the temporary space at 7171 Yonge Street, again it's the same ward of the city of Markham. And in 2010, we were successful to do the biggest fundraising in our community in one night. I think, remembering that Frank was in that night when we raised $500,000. That was the seed money to buy this property. And we spent about $1.2 million to change it to an existing one. And we were lucky that during this time, especially at the COVID time, we have been one of the, or maybe the most active community center in Great Toronto. A part of the normal services we give to the community for the different activities like English classes, social media, computer, but because it's going to the online, we increase our capacity, and during these 3-4 years, we extended our activity 2 issues. One, we become the first, again, community center in world that we give a scholarship to Iranian students studying in Canadian university. During the last 4 years, we have granted almost 260 scholarship to Iranian students studying in Canadian university and colleges. And then during the COVID time, because of the situation happened, we added our services to provide grocery to the community. And during this period of time, we have been successful to have a list of more than 3,000 persons living in Ontario. I can tell you the geographical distance from the Newmarket to the Hamilton, and from the east, from Oshawa to Mississauga. Almost 730 addresses. We deliver grocery weekly at their home. These people, almost 94% Iranian origin, 6% were the Russian, Afghanis, and the Chinese. And the food provided through 2 sources. One, the fund we get from the government. We buy the material which is suitable for the Iranian community, like rice, oil, lentils, and dates, and all these things. And then every week we had a delivery from the York region food bank. They bring us here, and we had tens of the volunteers who make the packages and take all these packages and deliver at the home of the receiver. And we are very proud of what we have done. And because of this, and I have to confess, as a person who is spending 20 years of my time in this activity, that I really appreciate it, that I noticed that the government has eye on everything we are doing. That's why our application in 2019 to extend our building was approved first by the province of Ontario and then by the federal government. This project is about 10,000 square feet of building to be extended to the existing building. We have now, at this moment, 10,000 square feet usable area. There will be another 10,000 extension, which we have been very lucky that after almost a month we get the permit, and hopefully by the next early April we will start the actual construction. The project is about estimated $4.9 million, 40% coming from federal, 33% from province, and 27% from community. But I have to mention here that unfortunately during the 2019, which we gave this estimate for this construction, has been increased a lot. And I am sure that we will need some more support from the province and federal to finish the project because of the increasement of the prices. But I'm sure we will have the support, because I noticed that the government has detailed awareness about what we are doing, and I'm sure we will have their help. And thank you very much for your presence today, and I'm sure our community will also be supporting this project by raising about $1.5 million. I have to thank you personally of 2 of your close friends, Amir Masoudi and Mr. Michael Parsa. They have been very, very frankly speaking, without their support and their guidance, we would not be reaching this stage that we are in. And I'm very, very thankful to them. And most importantly, for our volunteer who makes our face in the community so positive. Without them, it was not possible at all. And it is something, Mr. Premier, for our community who has the history to do all this type of the volunteer on the religious basis. This is the first one. It doesn't have religious basis. It is humanitarian. And that is what we are very, very proud that we have been successful on this. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. President.
First of all, thank you so much, and thank you for those kind words on it. And it's a real pleasure to be here. And happy Nowruz. Logan, great to see you here. This is your Daisy and Parm. Thank you for being here. You mentioned two of my Persian powerhouses. Okay, Persian powerhouse. Michael, you've done an incredible job for the community, and as you know, Amin Masoudi goes way back, all the way from day one when he got out of Queens. Rob picked him up, and he's been with our family ever since. And two great leaders within your community. But thank you for coming down to Queens Park the other day. Thanks for coming down to Queens Park the other day. It was a real pleasure to see you. But what I find amazing is the story behind it. How the government started with little seed money. Yourself and your community went out there and raised the money to build this community center. And I always say, isn't it amazing what we can do when we all collaborate together, when the municipal government and the provincial and federal and the community come together? Great things happen like this addition. I think one of the big highlights is going to be that gymnasium. Maybe I'll bring Amin by and whip his butt in a game of 21 or basketball, run circles. The old guy's going to run circles around him. But I also want to thank the community for everything you've done throughout this pandemic. You really stepped up, and what stands out to me, it wasn't just about the Iranian community, as you said. It's there to support everyone. And as you mentioned, Ahmed, in my office, this community center will be predominantly, will be people from the Iranian community. But as you said, it's open to everyone to come in here, and that's what Ontario's greatest strength is, the diversity. Thank you, Ahmed, for again delivering those meals. I think you mentioned 700 and some odd meals every single week. But what amazed me is how far you covered. You went all the way out to Hamilton, and you mentioned the geographical area, and that takes a lot of work, a lot of coordination with people just to be able to drive it there and supporting people in need in the toughest times. But thank goodness we're cautiously and slowly moving out of this pandemic. And it just goes to show you the Ontario spirit when we were facing challenges and the rest of the world were facing challenges. Along with the Iranian community, communities around the province stepped up, municipalities and provinces and federal government all work collaboratively together. And I can assure everyone, when elections come, people understand. They get into the muck and they throw muck around. But what I can assure you is once that election's over, people expect, no matter what political stripe you come from, it doesn't matter if it's a green, orange, red, or blue party, that you work together. And that's exactly what we've done. We've worked very well with the mayor. I want to thank him for his collaboration and great work over the number of years we've been down there. And he's done incredible things for Markham. And he's very fiscally prudent when it comes to spending taxpayers' money. But I noticed, Mayor, when I drove by, you changed that sign. It says 345,000 now, because it was just 300,000 and change. So people, one of the greatest places anywhere in Canada to live is right here in Markham. And again, it starts with the leadership of the mayor. So we really appreciate everything you've done. And again, I want to end off with thanking the Persian community. I can't wait to come here and watch the construction. As for your, the situation everyone's facing right now, it doesn't matter if you build a community center or a house or a building. We'll be there to support you. It wasn't your fault that this pandemic took place. It wasn't your fault that the inflation hitting us, no matter if it's steel or lumber. We'll be there to backstop you to make sure this happens. And we'll put it especially in the shovel up, 100%. He needs good hard work some days. Anyways, thank you, God bless everyone, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Salam, Happy Nowruz to everyone, and great to see everyone. And I just want to say I had given, I think, Ahmed about 3 pages of introductions for me, and then you just said, why don't you go out? So thank you for making it short, because I know that it's on a tight schedule. It really is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon for this important groundbreaking ceremony, and it couldn't happen at a better time with Nowruz, a new beginning, and certainly a wonderful way to celebrate the new year. And I do want to thank the Premier for coming to the city of Markham. He's no stranger to our community. He's been here for the last 4 years, supporting this community in so many ways, and it's quite often in meetings that the public doesn't get to see, but I know the Premier it works very hard at making sure that Markham and all of the communities in the New York region continue to thrive, and I thank him for the great support that he and his government has given to Markham and to York region, and thank you. I thank you especially for making time out to come here. It's one thing when governments decide to support something financially. I think it really is meaningful when the Premier of Ontario can come by to celebrate with any community, and I really do thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Just to take a little bit of a moment just to throw a spotlight on some of our local MPPs, because I'll tell you something, it's been a pleasure for me to work with them, to be able to pick up the phone, to see them at community functions. One thing is true about our MPPs here is they have not forgotten who elected them. They represent this community well. And I want to say, starting off with Logan Kanapathy, our MPP for Thornhill Markham. And I'll talk about him in just a second. And another local, though she's the MPP for Richmond Hill, but a portion of her riding is in Thornhill, in Markham, and I remind her of that every chance I get. So to MPP Daisy Way, thank you for the great support that you give. And then, as the Premier said, another superstar in the Persian community, Michael Parya. Michael, thank you. And I am pleased to be here with my colleague from the city of Markham on Markham Council, your ward councillor, Ward 1 Councillor Keith Irish is also here. So I welcome all of you to the city of Markham, and I hope that this afternoon you really do get the sense that we are proud of the diversity that we have in the city of Markham, and we truly wear the diversity as a badge of honor here in our community. And I really say on behalf of our council and our entire community, congratulations to Parya Trillium Foundation on this groundbreaking and the expansion of this beautiful community center, because truly it's another milestone in the history of your 20 years of existence. I know that's coming in August, but truly when you see the work that you've undertaken over the past 20 years, it really is admirable to see how far you've come, how committed you've been to serving your community. And I can tell you, perhaps as Canada's most diverse community, it's even more important that the cultural groups that are represented here in the city of Markham do have cultural centers, do have community centers that serve the needs of the community. And as others have said, it doesn't matter your age, your cultural background, your social status, the doors are open here. And it's an opportunity to support each other, but also to develop the wonderful friendships. And I know firsthand that these walls here at the Parya Trillium Foundation Community Center have truly been welcoming and inclusive to the Persian community and other cultures as well. These community centers are important because they provide that place where we can come together as a community, a place that supports individuals through the programs and services that take place. Now, the success of today's groundbreaking, I have to say, is really the work of many people. And I say thank you to each and every one of you that have been involved in the history and the progress that Parya Trillium Foundation has made. And this tremendous investment, really, again, the senior levels of government coming together with $4.95 million to support the expansion, I think speaks of the credibility of this foundation and the great work that they do in our community. And of course, as was outlined so eloquently by Ahmed, really the Parya Trillium Foundation and its members are also financially supporting this incredible expansion that will serve to support the Iranian community and other members, not just living here in Markham, but truly throughout York Region and the GTA. So thank you, Premier Ford, for making this a priority, working with the federal government and recognizing it really was your leadership to identify this as a project that needed support. To the MPs and the MPPs who've been involved in seeing the approvals come forward. I think the significant financial contribution by the province and by the federal government underscores and really makes a statement about how much they value the great work that happens within this community center. And it not only serves locally, but really, as I said, right across the GTA. Now, Ahmed, 20 years ago, when this foundation started, you embarked on a process to provide services and programs to help the Iranian community. And it wasn't that long ago, through the work that we've done in York Region, that we determined that it takes about an average of 15 years for a new Canadian to be fully integrated into Canadian society. And that's just way too long. And it's because of the work that happens here in this community center, that time is going to be shortened. And people will feel that they're a part of our community, our province, and our country. And I also want to thank the Premier and his government, and in particular, our local MPP, Logan Kanapathy, who presented a private member's bill. The Premier talked about the fiscal record of the city of Markham. We've had the lowest average tax increases for the last 15 years, but that's not good enough for Ahmed Tarizi and the Parya Foundation. They didn't want to pay any taxes at all. So I just want to thank the Premier and his government and MPP Kanapathy, because you were exempted through special legislation. I've been guiding Ahmed over the last few years, saying if you want this, you really have to get that approval through the provincial government. And I also want to say thank you to my colleague, Councillor Keith Irish, who I know helped finesse some of the details to ensure that that application was supported. And you are exempt as long as the city of Markham agrees. And the good news is we agree. So you're exempt. Just finally, I want to say, I know that most of the community think of Ahmed as a mild-mannered, very friendly, generous person. I want to tell you, we know another side of Ahmed. He is a bulldog. He is determined to have this expansion happen. And I can tell you, and I know both myself and Councillor Irish and some members of our senior staff, if it wasn't on a daily basis, almost a weekly basis, can we do this? Can you push this forward? Can you wait for another few months before you get the letter of credit? I want to let you know that we have 10 staff at the City of Markham that are off on stress leave because of the So, you would have thought it was like a big major shopping center or something with all the calls that we had. But let me tell you, myself and Councillor Irish, among some of the staff of the City of Markham, couldn't be happier that this moment has happened, that we have the official groundbreaking, and now Councillor Irish and myself will make sure that we unblock you as a caller on our cell phone. But let's give a minute for I also want to know some of them are here today, but I would like the Board of Directors just to raise your hand, the Board of Directors. Let's give them a big hand, because I know Annette is not very Thank you for the great work that you do. And of course, to all of the volunteers here at Parya that make it happen. Others did talk about the Premier, just to give you a sense of this project. This is going to double, more than double the size of this community center. And the important elements are a bit more office space because of the great work that happens. So a couple of classrooms, the gymnasium with change rooms and storage is going to increase the amount of activity. And fair to say that while the physical size of this structure will double in size, we know that the impact is going to be tenfold of what's going to happen within these walls, the way in which the community will come together. This has been a place since day one when it opened that has provided the support to people in need in your community so that they can succeed. We've come together in times of heartbreak that the community knows all too well. And I know that there have been many celebrations in this community center. And thanks to the government, and again, I think it's absolutely right, Premier, today's another great example of when senior levels of government work with the community, great things can happen. And I just say congratulations to one and all. There couldn't be a better way to celebrate Nowruz with this wonderful turning of a new leaf, a new moment. And I wish you all the success and thank you to everyone involved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Let me say something is, I was talking to Mayor about many years ago. I am 52 years married man. When I was 22 and I'm 74. And the first 20-25 years, my wife assumed that I have a virus for this type of job I do for the community. And then after 20 some years, she found out there is not virus. It is a defected gene. It's not curable, okay? And Frank, I was talking about the city. When we started in February 21, Frank was very kind. He arranged a meeting with all the big shots of the city, and they came on the Zoom. You know, we didn't have a chance to meet. And everybody said, Mr. Tabrizi, don't worry, it's a very small business, you will have the permit soon. And this, about late February this year, we had another meeting, and they are all big shots over there. Mr. Tabrizi, what happened to your permit? They said, you're asking me? You are to give me the permit. And then I told them that, everybody, just to know, I lived 10 years in Spain. In Spain, when you say un momento, it may take 1 month. I said, I'm sorry, I think this virus, like COVID, has been transferred from Spain to Markham. But really, I'm just joking, but I'm really happy. Everybody in the city has been very kind to me and for this project. And whenever I call anybody, oh, Mr. Tabrizi, don't worry, on the top of your computer, priority project is Parya. I said, thanks God. Anyway, we are having and we are happy to do this. I need to mention a few points before I ask the Minister of Multicultural who is here, Mr. Prampan. And I would like to ask our architect, Mrs. Fariba Motamed, who is Iranian architect. This design is from her. Their firm is one of the biggest or most active one for the Ministry of Education, TDSB. They do a lot of project for the schools in Ontario, and that's why we asked them, and they were very kind to help us and make this design. It will be, I think that will be a beautiful building. And I was asking, or when I had the chance to meet the Premier a few days ago in his office, I said, hopefully by the time we are going to have a ribbon cutting, I don't know if I will be still alive, but I'm sure that you will be the Premier to come and cut the ribbon for you. Minister, can I ask you for a vote?
Thank you very much, Mr. Trabisi. Thank you, and it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be with all of you. First and foremost, let me just say Nowruz Penruz. You know, this is a wonderful month of March, obviously March, thanks to my colleague and the great leader within the community, Mr. Parsa, for introducing a bill in the legislature and making sure that it is actually enacted into law to turn March as a Persian Heritage Month. And I think he deserves a tremendous applause. You know, unfortunately, I would say not every community has a champion or an all-star like Mr. Parsa in their community. And that's part of the reason why Premier saw the need, obviously, last year and created a new ministry within the provincial government, the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. And I'm absolutely honored to lead the ministry and make sure that every community out there has a voice around the cabinet table and make sure everyone's issues are brought to my colleagues and cabinet's attention to make sure that they're heard and they're addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're seeing here today with this wonderful announcement obviously affecting the Persian community is just an example of what our government has been doing, obviously under the leadership of our great Premier Ford. You know, just a few months ago, there was an announcement made, you know, to launch a Camel Community Center, and these announcements are being made right across the province, not just the community centers, but also when it comes to long-term care facilities. You know, our government has introduced or announced a number of different community centers, long-term care facilities, that are culturally sensitive, and I can tell you, the first one ever in North America when it comes to the Muslim community, first ever when it comes to Sikh community, and the list goes on and on. And obviously these are some of the initiatives that the communities had been pushing for a long, long time under different governments in the past. But finally we have a leader, we have a Premier who understands the need, who understands what it means to cultural communities to have these community centers and have obviously long-term care facilities that are culturally sensitive to go on to serve, of course, seniors. And you know, seniors, for the most part, we all understand, spent you know, their entire life building, whether it's this province or whether this country, and it's important for us to be taking care of them as well. So, Persian community, you know, coming back to the Persian community, has a very rich culture, very rich traditions, and they obviously play a very, very important role in building our province and our country. And I want to thank each and every one of you for that. And thanks to MPP Parsa, I know he's my colleague. He is one of my favorite at Queen's Park, so part of the reason why I keep mentioning his names. And also, I would say the Persian food. He always treats us to kebabs. We all know how tasty the Persian food is. And I know, you know, March being the Persian Heritage Month, I think is an opportunity for other Ontarians to learn about the culture, to learn about the tradition, learn about and also experience and eat as much food as you possibly can. Look at guys like us. We heard a bit about Amin Masudi, who was obviously you know, the Premier's right-hand person. He is always there next to the Premier and plays a very, very important role in when it comes to making decisions such as this, and obviously belongs to the Persian community. He is another all-star we have at Queen's Park. So many thanks to everybody, and of course all my colleagues that are here, with Daisy Way, Logan, and Premier. Thank you for taking the time, and on behalf of the community, I will also take the opportunity to thank you. This is very, very important. This is huge. Guys, this is what Ontario is all about. This is what Canada is all about. And I'm absolutely, absolutely honored and thrilled to be part of this. Thank you. Enjoy.
I think that we cannot have any event at Parya having Michael Parsa without saying few words. Especially, of course, today doesn't need to practice his Farsi. That's good. Michael Parsa. When about 12, 13 years ago we become friends here, his Farsi was almost zero. Now his Farsi is so perfect, you know, you can't believe. But doesn't need to practice today. Come on.
Thank you very much. Just an opportunity for me to say thanks. Thank you very much, Premier, for recognizing the contributions of the Persian Canadian community, just as you've done with other communities. Thank you very much, Your Worship, for always being there for our community whenever we needed to. We've been in this building through tough times, through happy times. It's always provided a home for us. Mr. Tarizi, truly, there's no words to express my gratitude to you for the work that you've done as a leader, really in our community, for bringing us together, and for really spearheading this project from the beginning. You have been a leader, you'll continue being a leader. We're all indebted to you for the work that you've done. But I also want to thank, and I know that many of you may not know because he's not on the front pages, not on the front scenes to do this, but I really want to thank Amin Masoudi. Honestly, I cannot, this helped us so much behind the scenes. Rarely takes the credit. Can't thank you enough for making this happen. و به همه شما کامیونیتی این تایم خیلی مهمیه برامون برای اینکه ماه مارچ همونطوری که دوستم منیستر گیل گفتن ما هم مثل کامیونیتی های دیگه میتونیم کالچر قشنگ خودمون رو اون ریچنس کالچر هیستوری خودمون رو بتونیم با بقیه کانادا شیر بکنیم برای اینکه همونطور که میدونین از تمام گلوب از four corners of the world همه میان تو انتاریو و به کانادا برای اینکه it's the greatest province within the greatest country in the world و به خاطر همین من خیلی دوست داشتم بتونیم کالچرمون رو بیشتر با همه شیر کنیم برای همون اون private members بیلی که گذاشتم که ما بتونیم Persian Heritage Month رو هر سال با بقیه همه پراوینس شیر بکنیم. این یک گیفت عیدی بود که ما به همه میتونیم بدیم از طرف تمام والنتیر پریا دستتون درد نکنه برای همه کاری که همیشه میکنین. Every single one of you, the volunteers, the helpers, the community leaders, the sponsors, the board of directors, thank you for all the work that you're doing. We're all extremely thankful. Happy Nowruz to every one of you, to you and your family. Nowruzetan Piruz, Har Ruzetan Nowruz. Thank you, Premier. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Premier. Really, it was a great opportunity for our member of our community. Of course, we could have a crowd here, but I checked with Amin, he said no, because of COVID we have to have a limited people, that's why. Otherwise, I'm sure there were a lot of our community members love to be here and sharing with your presence here. And thank you very much for everybody to participate in this event. Mr. Premier, allow us to have few of our media to have an interview in the library. If you don't mind, you can prepare yourself, and I request Mr. Premier to join us over there and answer your question. Thank you very much, everybody.